Yayoi Kusama's art is the brainchild of her mind. Her entire life has been filled with the inner turmoil of her work being taken away from her, like when her mother took her artwork away from her as a child. Kusama's first exhibition in her hometown of Matsumoto, Japan, was filled with flowers. She said the flowers would surround her, almost as if she was in a hallucination. If she did not consume all of the flowers, they would eventually suffocate her. She was fascinated by dots because when she closed her eyes and when she looked around, dots filled her imagination, almost as if she was in a hallucination of her own. Her obsession with polka dots since childhood has yet to expire. She lives to paint and paints to live. She's quoted in saying, "I love painting so much that nothing else matters." She had mountains of creative energy that brought her to New York City. That is when nets appeared in her life as parts of hallucination. Her obsession of nets became even more evident when she would walk down the streets of New York City and she would almost have visions of nets being everywhere. This transitioned her art into that of being environmental art. She was able to produce art that people could see and be a part of. Her distorted view on sexuality and sex derived from childhood. Her mother would make Kusama spy on her father, who was known to have multiple lovers. She then would see the pain, anger, and suffering of her mother and associated it with guilt and sexual dysmorphia. Her first works in New York City were stuffed penises in all sizes, types, and shapes, sewn together as couches and chairs. Her artwork became more and more prevalent. She was the first artist to incorporate mirrors in her installation art. She then would make herself a part of her own work through performance. The mirrors represented infinity, infinite life, infinite possibilities, and for the first time, a person could be a part of the hallucinations of Kusama. Eventually, the freedoms of the 60s era became less and less popular. The Vietnam War happened and Nixon became president, and the nation began to cling to a more conservative ideology, a big cultural shift that Kusama was not ready for. Her performance art began to be more provocative, therefore less and less accepted. Thus, her mental health started to fade. Kusama was starting to be known for pushing the envelope. She was the first person to perform and preside over a gay marriage while painting dots, and also painting dots and displaying multiple nude performances on people in art street exhibitions in opposition to the Vietnam War. Although she was still known, due to her artwork's lack of acceptance and draining popularity, anxiety, suicidal thought patterns, and overall mental health eventually convinced her to return home to her country of Japan. The art pop movement of the 60s was gone. The 70s hippie counterculture faded. She disappeared quietly, admitting herself into a psychiatric hospital that was known for art therapy, where she painted day after day, year after year, and eventually having a studio 2 blocks from where she resided. She never stops, still to this day. In the 90s, art enthusiasts and lovers of Kusama sought her out. They saw the potential of her artwork and the plethora of artwork that had yet to be discovered. This initiated her entry into the international art stage once again, and this time as a cherished artisan. Her dots became even more prevalent on hundreds of pumpkins and infinity rooms and on all sorts of different objects in her work. She became known as the Polka Dot Lady. She was finally accepted in professional art galleries and her popularity increased. She was the first Japanese national to exhibit in the 1993 Milan Biennial in Italy, and her success rapidly flourished from there. Her work has been used in professional music videos, performances such as Adele's When We Were Young video, in fashion, as we see here with George Clooney in the W magazine, and in the tailored clothes Kusama herself wears. Most viewers have seen her work and have not even known it was hers. Her collaboration of her artwork from the retrospective to the present has set stage for international exhibitions, both permanent and temporary. Viewers are among the millions, and many line up blocks from galleries just to view her work. She has not shied away from her mental health disease and is an advocate for success for people who struggle in these same areas. At 91 today, she still lives in the psychiatric hospital room and walks to her studio to make her art. Her life is not over, but when asked, Yayoi Kusama said, "I think I will be able to, in the end, rise above the clouds and climb the stairs to heaven, and I will look down on my beautiful life." Kusama still ceases to amaze the masses. I hope you enjoyed the life and art of Yayoi Kusama.